The Secrets of Middle-earth is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give.
You're listening to The Secrets of Middle-earth, where we discuss the hidden themes and deeper layers found in the works of J.R.R. Tolkien, whether in his writings or in any of the media derived from them. Be sure to follow The Secrets of Middle-earth on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app or directory of choice, or on the StarQuest YouTube channel. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia, on X, where we are at SQPN, and on Instagram, where we are at StarQuest Network. And of course, be sure to get your official Secrets of Middle-earth gear, including our awesome t-shirt, at sqpn.com/merch. It's a great way for you guys to support the show and to celebrate Tolkien and his wonderful world of Middle-earth. I'm Thomas Salerno, and joining me today on the panel are Patrick Mason. Hello, Pat.
Howdy, Thomas.
Hey, and Jeff Haecker. Hey there, Jeff.
Hey, Thomas.
All right, so before we get started tonight, we have a ton of Middle-earth news to cover. We've been bombarded with news like I don't know, catapults throwing stuff at Minas Tirith. It reminds me of the Siege of Gondor.
Good segue. Solid.
Good segue. Solid. Yeah. We first off, War of the Rohirrim. I think this is this the first time they've given us an official kind of release date? We knew it was coming out in December, but I
think the date had already been on the books, but they've reconfirmed it at least, because I think it was on the books before the strikes happened, so there was potential for things to move from that.
Around, yeah. But yeah, December 13th, 2024. I'm excited for that. Hoping we get a trailer sooner rather than later.
Yeah, well, I think next month they're supposed to be doing a first look at a film festival from what I was reading, so maybe by the time our next episode after this comes out, we'll have seen something. If not a trailer, at least there's some images online, but there was only a very couple and not as really worth much talking about right now. But
yeah, those are the same images they showed months ago.
Yeah,
and everyone was acting like they were new. I was like, wait, we've seen the one with the Oliphant and stuff like for a long time now. But yeah, I'm hoping we get more from this, because I was down for this movie when we first heard about it.
So this is the fully animated one, right? This is not live action. This is animated. Okay.
Fully animated, and I believe in an anime, a Japanese style.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay. I had not realized that part.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like a Netflix anime like style where it's like inspired by it, but it's not necessarily like made by a Japanese, anime house, like, in that case. So.
Well, okay, so which one? Because that's a pretty broad. I mean, are we talking like Miyazaki? Are we talking like Cowboy Bebop? Like what style?
Yeah. We don't really know. Yeah.
Which Star Wars Visions style is it in?
Lord of the Rings Visions. That would be really neat.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah, right?
Oh.
Just did a bunch of like different animation styles.
Yeah, I want to see the folks who did the Secret of the Kells do some Lord of the Rings stuff. That'd be great.
That would be really cool. But yeah, we know this movie's supposed to be about the story of Helm Hammerhand and the original siege of the Hornburg. So that we can sure that, well, I mean, I'm sure they won't go over the top with anime violence because they want kids to see this movie, but we'll see.
So like an Akira style.
Yeah.
Like, how far are we going to take this, guys?
Maybe it'll just be the Hobbit's animated movie style violence where you just see a circle of stars and
people just
waving their swords around.
Or it's like Bleach when like people get cut and like blood comes out like a fire hose.
Yeah, like everybody's body is under 400 pounds of pressure at all times. Just small cuts. Yeah.
But on a more serious Rohirrim related note, We also got news that the actor Bernard Hill, who played King Theoden in the Peter Jackson movies, passed away on May the 5th at age 79. That was really sad. He also apparently played the captain of the Titanic in the movie of that same name.
Yeah, he was. And although I wouldn't have been able to tell you that until I saw him in Lord of the Rings. So
yeah,
like I can picture both of those like characters in my head right now, and there's no equivalence happening. My brain's like, no, those are two different people.
Yeah.
Like, huh.
He's also very distracting at for me anyway, because the first thing I ever saw him in was Lord of the Rings, and he has a walk-on part in the beginning of Valkyrie where he's a Wehrmacht general, and he walks on, and I'm like, wait, where do I know this guy? And I'm like, Theoden? Why are you a German general?
No.
But no, it's very sad. Obviously, an extremely talented actor. He just, in Lord of the Rings, he just commands every scene he's in. You know, just does such a great job. And I was just thinking how much fun he must have had in the exorcism scene where he gets to act all crazy and Gandalf, drives Saruman
no
out.
Power here. Yeah, that must have been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Rohan is mine. But yeah, no, especially like that scene in the Hornburg where, he tells Aragorn, may this be the hour where we draw swords together. And he's like, that where it's like, they're almost certain they're going to die, and they keep fighting on because they've forgotten that Gandalf is going to show up. That's such a great scene. And I get, emotional when I watch it. That and, when they arrive at Pelennor Field. So he's definitely going to be missed.
Yeah.
And it was almost like on the internet, it was almost universal, like just acclaim. And, the fans just love this guy and he really made Theoden a fan favorite character.
Yeah, I think part of it, why Theoden was so great is that he's a little bit more like he's more of an everyman than Aragorn or the elves are. He's kind of the human that you can really relate to, because you can see, like, especially when he's got all these decisions he has to make for his people. He's not the descendant of Gondor. He's a descendant of the kings of Rohan, but he's very human though, because you see he lost his son, he lost his the decisions he made when he was under Saruman's control kind of led to he kicked out his nephew, and then very human, having to grapple with all that. So I think that's definitely part of why people love the character and love his performance.
Yeah, and more news regarding the kind of Peter Jackson universe, which I also believe, by the way, War of the Rohirrim is essentially supposed to be in that same timeline. They've confirmed that. Like the artwork, the Oliphants and the way Edoras looks in the concept art, it's identical. So
yeah, and I believe her name's Miranda Otto, who played Eowyn. She's, I think, narrating the movie, or probably doing like a Galadriel style like intro. So yeah, she'll be at least voicing in the movie. I don't know if any other actors from the movies will appear, or will if there'll be any voices, but I do know that she's supposed to be there.
Yeah, excited for that, and just excited for the sort of Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings universe to continue, because we had some other news about the quote unquote return of the king. No, not Aragorn, but Peter Jackson himself will be returning to be involved in future film projects. I assume as a producer.
That's what it sounded like. Probably like he might be kind of like a Dave Filoni style, like chief story officer or whatever of
executive producer, maybe.
Yeah, kind of overseeing it all, but probably not getting in, or like Kevin Feige style, like maybe not getting involved with every aspect of a film, but kind of overseeing it and making sure things kind of come together as needed, and crafting more of a shared universe, even though it's already kind of shared. But
and they did announce, like, and I believe this was like a Warner Brothers like shareholder meeting or something.
Yeah,
where they announced the first of these a new slate of Lord of the Rings live action films in this universe will be the Lord of the Rings, The Hunt for Gollum, with Andy Serkis returning to both star as Gollum and to direct the film.
Oh, that should make it really good.
Yeah,
because he's pretty amazing as Gollum.
Yes, yeah,
Gollum.
And as somebody, I wish I knew who this was. Somebody pointed out on X that like some directors can say they've read the source material, but he's literally read the source material to us as in audiobook form.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that. And it's part of the reason why we're doing this episode, as we'll talk about in a bit. There is already a pre-existing fan film about this topic, but it's interesting to see it brought, I think, to like, you know, the big screen because, and I'm not surprised they went with this because I think it's safe and it's because it's Gollum and people loved Andy Serkis's Gollum. And it's also something from the lore that we've not seen on screen. And we know the basics of, but there's still enough vagueness there for them to play with. What do you guys think?
Yeah, they could definitely do really what they want to do. I'm just hoping they, you know, do it within reason and not try to, you know, I don't think this needs to be 3 movies, 3 hours each. With, you know,
I don't know how you would pull that off, to be honest.
I mean, they did it with The Hobbit.
Yeah, The Hobbit had enough there to do like 2 movies.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they definitely could. Yeah. So, I mean, I think this will be one. And I think with Andy Serkis being in directing it and starring is kind of a good plan for that. Cause you can, you know, I think this one could be fine if it was 2 hours. Like I don't think it needs to be, you know, 3 hours. Cause I can't imagine there will be major battles or anything like that. In this, you know, anything that needs to be an extended kind of action sequence with, you know, tons of CGI or tons of extras or whatever.
My biggest concern is that it will become the Lord of cameos and that this movie will have a ton of just, oh, remember this character where they walk on stage for like a few minutes and it's just like, yeah, I'm worried that it might become that. But other than that, I'm really excited for it. I like seeing Andy Serkis return. But my biggest question is like, do you think they'll get Viggo Mortensen and Ian McKellen back? Because those 2 characters, Gandalf and Aragorn, as we'll see later in the fan film, play a big part in this storyline.
I could see them getting Ian McKellen back in like in a more of a bit part, not really having any action parts, because I mean he's an older guy now, so you know he's not going to be able to do too many big action scenes. I don't think they'll get Viggo back. I think there's just no way to, because I mean this is what 20 years later, and he's supposed to be portraying a much younger version. I don't see it happening. They tried it with Legolas, and 10 years later, and it didn't
they
really
might
seem
do
to...
the de-aging stuff, I guess. But...
Yeah,
they
can. Like they did with Luke and Mandalorian.
Yeah, I hope they recast. Honestly, I could see them doing something like having, you know, like we were saying with Miranda Otto narrating War of the Rohirrim, having Aragorn like telling his son, hey, this is about this time I hunted for Gollum. Or, you know, getting Viggo in there, you know, somehow, but not having him be the star. Because I just don't know. I mean, I would love it because I love Viggo Mortensen as Aragorn. I just don't know that. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not going to put it past them to de-age or do anything. I mean, it's definitely possible, but I don't know. If it was me, I would think. I mean, his performance as Aragorn was already so great. Like, let's not walk it back anymore.
Yeah, I think it is really safe to do this story in particular because of its involvement with the well-known characters. You know, you have Gandalf and Aragorn, and
Yeah.
Ostensibly, you could bring in Elrond. You could bring in a whole bunch. Like you said, a whole bunch of cameos, right? Depending on how you do the search and who does the search and who's involved. I think I agree with Jeff. I don't think they're going to wring more than one movie out of this story, because it's a pretty brief story in the source material. And the one expansion I've seen on it and other stuff is from the Lord of the Rings living card game. And it's one of the adventures you can play through, Hunt for Gollum. That's not part of, like, you have the main pack, which kind of takes you through a lot of the journey of the Lord of the Rings. But then you have a whole bunch of side stuff, and the Hunt for Gollum's one of them. And it is a real pain in the neck adventure because most of it is taking up with finding the trail, and then there's that line from the fan film where they talk about the terror in the dark. And that's actually, and I kind of, like, after watching the fan film, I'm like, this feels like they basically just took the living card game thing and made a film.
Interesting.
But yeah, it's all about, like, finding the trail, and then once you get close enough, then you're looking for the terror in the dark and finding the rumors, and then you finally, like, nail them down, and then you get Gollum. But like, that's it. Like, that's the story. Like, there's not a whole lot else there to do. And yeah, there's always, orcs to fight, because there's always orcs to fight, because they're everywhere.
Yeah. Get the Ranger! It's like all of a sudden it becomes the Shadow of Mordor games.
Yep.
Like, I was thinking as we were talking, like, one thing they could do is they could bring in Elrond's sons, because we haven't seen them. We saw them in Born of Hope, but that was obviously a fan film, so that they could be, you could give them a big role here, or even more of you could have more of the Dunedain here, the Grey Company or something, as, being on the helping with this hunt for Gollum that's going to be taking place, and kind of everybody going on missions to kind of chase down rumors and track and whatnot. So, but yeah, they could definitely do, expand on these kind of characters we haven't seen before. And I would like that more, I think, than trying to, stuff it with cameos, like you said, Thomas.
Yeah. Our other huge bit of news that we got is finally trailer for the Rings of Power Season 2 and a release date. Finally, premiering August 29th. And I just learned this the other day, a 3-episode premiere.
Oh, okay.
We're getting.
Okay.
Yeah.
August 29th. Okay, I see what they did. They timed this so it'll hit just on the tail end of House of the Dragon. Bravo.
Probably.
Good timing.
Yeah.
Good timing.
Because
I think House of the Dragon starts June. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because in the first season of both House of the Dragon and Rings of Power, there was a little bit of overlap. And I think by far House of the Dragon won that battle in the ratings. And I mean, I love both the shows. In my mind,
House of the Dragon
was, But but it's also it's almost 2 years to the day when Rings of Power first premiered, and it's also right around when the date of Tolkien's passing and all that. So I think it doesn't surprise me that they tried to put it around that end of August, beginning of September timeframe.
What a trailer! Yeah.
So, what did you guys think of the trailer?
I mean, it was like you were strapped to a chair with a whole, comets flying by you. Like, wait, what was that? Wait, what was that? Wait, what was that? Wait, what was that? At the end of it, you feel like Thor in Ragnarok, where he's in that chair and he's just screaming as the sound and the light come at him. Like, what just happened?
Yeah.
That's how.
Yeah.
That was. Yeah.
I haven't watched it too many times, because I think we've talked about we'll probably do a separate episode when we get some more. There might be some character posters and things coming out that we could talk about, but yeah, you definitely get to see Sauron's Anatar form, which stay tuned to our Silmarillion coverage for that, for more info on that if we can get to it in time.
I was gonna say that's probably gonna be like a year and a half from now.
Now that all of September will be Rings of Power stuff and probably a lot into October. But yeah, no, I liked the trailer a lot. I really liked it. I thought that I really like that they appear now to be playing up the aspect of Sauron the Deceiver, you know, where he goes in and just kind of insinuates himself. There's that one character who says in the voiceover, he worms his way inside your mind. And I'm like, yeah, that's Sauron. And even the showrunners basically admitted, in this season, we're giving you the story we should have given you last season. They've basically said that. Instead of Sauron, the random wanderer guy, dude, we're getting actual Sauron for realsies now. Yeah. Well, good. But and as someone who did enjoy last season, you know, I just feel like that this is the right direction for the show. They appear to have listened to, you know, the criticisms that were lodged at the I could go all in and, like, you know, point out all the little things I liked, but that's not really our purpose here. But one thing they released too was a nice little featurette behind the scenes thing where they got to talk to the actors. But they let drop something huge in the background when they're talking to the guy who plays Isildur. You can see the storyboards of Shelob in the background. Oh. Shelob or a giant spider, but I'm like, come on, it's Shelob. And like, I don't know if you guys noticed, it was like possibly the third or fifth frame into, and I say frame, but like story piece in the trailer. But it was like this black amorphous kind of oozing blob thing that was like coming up on the side of looked like the side of a mountain. I was trying to figure out what the heck that was. I was like, Ungoliant? like what?
It could be.
Like,
I mean, we got some teases of
yes.
Yeah. It could be, because we got some teases of that in Rings of Power season 1, where we saw the trees dying and, you know, little hints of Valinor and such. So they could, you know, be teasing out a little bit more. I think there was a rumor that Amazon had the rights to more of the Silmarillion now, so maybe they could be doing some more with that, and we could see some more kind of backstory. But, you know, I don't know.
And what was the giant sea monster? Like, like I was just there, like, what did I just see? Like, it was like a giant whale octopus, and who is it about to eat? Like, I want I want to know more. You can't just give me that and move on. Oh, I love when trailers do that. They just throw you a bunch of crazy out of context images, and you're just like, wait, what?
Well,
no. Yeah.
And to be clear, I think this was a teaser, so because there'll probably be a full trailer in the next month or two that kind of gives more of an idea of what the story, or at least, you know, hinting what the story will be. But yeah, this is kind of more of nowadays they have to drop a teaser first and then follow it up with a full trailer, and then
they did a good job. I feel very teased. Just like Al-Farazan jumping off the back of a griffin or an owl. I couldn't tell. Unsheathing his sword. I'm like, what? But Durin's father getting the ring.
I did notice nary a Harfoot to be seen in the trailer.
Yeah. I want to say the mystery man, we only saw him once in the trailer, and it was like from the back, so it wasn't entirely clear that it was him.
Yeah, they want to give us what people actually want, which is not the Harfoots. I mean, I think I don't know. I can't speak for you, Thomas, but I think for me and I think for Caitlin as well, the Harfoots were probably the weakest part of the season. I mean, there were some fun, there were some decent parts, but it was the least interesting of the main storylines.
I think I'd agree with you, but they never made me blindingly angry like Galadriel would on a regular basis. Just like, You're 1,000 years old, and you're acting like an impudent child.
Aw. Oh, and before I forget, I just wanted to say that our friend Caitlin from Tea with Tolkien has on her YouTube channel has great breakdowns of both the trailer and the featurette, the behind the scenes stuff. So if you want the real nitty gritty, she's got you covered with that. So our main topic of discussion tonight, before the whole episode just becomes about the Rings of Power, we can cover that in a future episode about all of our hopes and fears that are keeping us up at night of the Rings of Power.
But what was that thing? No, sorry.
No. Tonight we are going to discuss the Hunt for Gollum fan film, which you can find on YouTube, on the YouTube channel Independent Online Cinema. So we decided with the new Hunt for Gollum movie announced, we might as well watch and review the fan film, because why not? I like to support fan productions. And I really liked this one. It's only about 40 minutes long. But here's a brief summary. And I guess I'm obligated to announce that spoilers are on. But if you have read The Fellowship of the Ring, you know what happens. Gandalf spoils it all, essentially. but our brief summary is that Gandalf meets with Aragorn, who tells him that they need to find the creature Gollum in order to learn more about the One Ring. Aragorn goes on a solo journey to track down Gollum. He does manage to capture him, and he battles with some orcs and one of the Nazgul to bring him back to Mirkwood. Gandalf says that he must protect Frodo and get the ring out of the Shire, and that Aragorn will meet him in Bree. The film ends with hinting at Gollum's escape. So what did you guys think of this fan production? I really liked it a lot. I thought for what it was, I thought they did a really good job with the budget and resources that they had. And I was pretty entertained. I liked it.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, there's not a lot of substance to it. It's not as substantive as like Born of Hope, which we discussed last year. Like that had kind of more of a narrative and more of a story. This was just, I mean, the title says what it is. It's Aragorn searching for Gollum. But it was a pretty decent little fan film. And you do get there's a scene that I thought was cool, which is Aragorn in front of the statue of Elendil, kind of talking, almost like in a prayer to Elendil of your, hear me, grandfather, or whatever. I forget exactly what he says. And I thought the Gollum, the one who was doing the voice for Gollum was actually pretty decent, and like almost sounded very similar to Andy Serkis. Not quite that level, but I think it sounded pretty similar, pretty close for a fan production. So yeah, overall, I mean, I think it was fun. It'll be interesting to see how Andy Serkis and the rest kind of expand on this into more of a full film.
Yeah, I thought it was really well done. Again, going back to this being kind of a fan film, so the budget's probably not a huge amount, but the costuming was all done very well. The makeup, I don't know what you call that, but the face effects for the orcs, the way, the prosthetics, the way they handled Gollum, very clever.
Yes.
Just keep him in a bag,
Except for the shot at the end.
That's right.
or in shadow, or up in a dark tree.
Yep. They all did. I only have access to pretty terrible CGI. So how do I mitigate that? Darkness. And they utilized all those things very well. I will say that is probably my only criticism, is that the whole film is very dark, and that it's like there's basically three colors: black, gray, and maybe dark blue, maybe. or maybe lighter gray. I don't know. Either way, it's not a very colorful film. But it's not a very colorful story either, right? So you're hunting this, effectively monster who's gone out and about. And I thought they did a very good job with it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I thought that they got pretty serviceable Vigo and Ian McKellen impersonators.
Yeah.
For our solid. Yep. I thought they did a really good job. As you said, Jeff, I really liked the voice actor who did Gollum. I was just laughing the entire way. I love the image of Aragorn just carrying the sack for miles and miles for days, having to listen to 4,000 eyes, it's just great.
It's like carrying an angry toddler.
I was about to say, yeah, for any parents out there, it's like when your toddler's throwing a fit and you've got to carry him somewhere.
Yep. We've all done it. Good training for Aragorn when he becomes a dad later. Yeah, he'll be able to put up with anything. Most patient father ever.
After that. I did like, too, like you said, Jeff, the prayer at the beginning, almost like he's asking for Elendil's intercession on his behalf.
Yeah, because it's still kind of if we're kind of pretending this is in the Jackson verse, if it's reluctant Aragorn, he's still kind of hasn't fully accepted who he's supposed to be, but he's still kind of he knows who he is, and probably deep down he knows who he should be, but he's just not accepting it yet. So I kind of see that as like he's still kind of struggling with that dynamic here. At least it's kind of how I'm headcanoning this one, that it along with Born of Hope, that they kind of like are in that same, continuity. I don't know what you thought about that, Pat.
So I like the scene in general. I think the question I had about it was, it seemed like he kind of went on a little bit of a vision quest or something during that scene. And maybe I'm misremembering it, but it seems like after the prayer, he kind of like does that sort of far-seeing thing that Frodo does when he climbs that one, kind of wrecked tower right towards the end of the not the Hobbit, the Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah.
And he has that kind of far sight that eventually, he looks at a lot of stuff and then eventually gets taken over by the eye. I kind of feel like that sort of happens too at the end of that scene. But I'm not sure exactly what's actually supposed to, like, what did the director intend that to be? Was it something that was going on in Aragorn's mind that was supposed to represent him, like, thinking forward to what he's got to do? Or was that, like, actually, like, an immediate fulfillment to the prayer? Like, here's some help. I'm going to give you some farsight for a minute. So, that's the only kind of, I like the scene in general, but that was the only question I kind of walked away with. Was like, what was that supposed to be exactly?
We also had that bit where he's poisoned by the orc blade, and he goes into it was very Peter Jackson. He goes into that sort of swoon thing where he has a vision of Arwen, and then he wakes up and he's fine. He's healed.
Yep.
Like, great. I'm like, he was trying to get what I thought was King's foil, but then he faints. And then he's fine after he wakes up from the vision.
It's got that elven blood. He heals all.
No, yeah, that's what me and my brother were saying after I watched it for the second time with him, and my brother's like, it's just like he's like Dunedain have like a healing factor, like Wolverine or something. He's fine.
I was just about to ask, is it like Wolverine?
Yeah,
Will of Iluvatar.
Yeah.
That he, as all things are.
Yeah. Trying to think of what Valar would that be.
Maybe Lorien, because he's Lord of Dreams.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he has to do with healing as well.
Maybe Yavanna.
Oh, because of plants and stuff. Yeah. I liked like what you said, Pat. The makeup on the orcs Although I did notice that those two orc fellas who get done in by Aragorn, we see both of them alive later in the film in the huge crowd of orcs.
Yes. They do somehow come back.
Somehow
they return. Yeah. It is very prominent too, because like I think like the main orc chieftain, his name's like Lubdub or something. I couldn't really catch his name, but like one of the orcs who comes up to him and is like, right away, Lubgub. I'm like, wait, you're the guy that Aragorn stabbed through the gut.
You're already dead. Orcs have a healing factor, I guess, like Sabretooth.
Yeah, that's right.
So you're saying the elven blood is the X gene?
Huh, yeah, no, yeah, I guess so. The orcs are the corrupted children of the elves, I suppose.
Does that mean the orcs are like the Morlocks from X-Men?
Oh, man. Or the Morlocks from the Time Machine.
I've thought about that before. Yeah. The Morlocks from the Time Machine live underground. They like machines. They eat people.
And then the Nazgul are like the Horsemen of Apocalypse in X-Men.
Oh my God.
As you can tell, there's not a lot of substance here to talk about.
But speaking of Nazgul, though, what did you guys think of the inclusion of a Nazgul? Yeah, I think they had to have kind of a boss fight in this movie, and they do that by having one of the Black Riders. My only problem with that scene is that, as you mentioned, Pat, it's way too dark. You can't see what's going on.
That one in particular, I was like, I don't know what happened. I think they fought. I don't know how Aragorn won, but he did. Yep, that's all I got.
Yeah, and I did look up their budget, and at least on Wikipedia it says it was less than $5,000 back in 2009. So
it was a lot of money in 2009.
but to make a movie though, like that's
true
for everything, because they can't make a profit on it. So like but anyway, so
what Jimmy always says, before all the inflation the government
has caused. Yeah.
Yes. It's like $4 million before all the inflation the government's caused. Sorry. Yeah, I would say that is probably the darkness part, sure, but my critique of the fight scenes, the one with Aragorn versus 8 orcs. There is an amazing, if you ever read Little Big Man, which is a fantastic book if you've never read it, but there is one line in that book amongst many that will always stick with me, and that is the protagonist from the book is like, if anybody ever tells you a story where it's him versus more than 3 people and they survived, they're lying. Because I'm sorry, people just don't line up like that when they go to fight somebody.
Yeah,
it's mob and crowd style, and so 8 on 1. I'm like, I get he's Aragorn, but come on, you could have had at least the other ranger join in the fight. I think it would have been a more interesting fight scene in general. Mm-hmm. It is always fun to see Aragorn kill a bunch of orcs. Don't get me wrong, but like it just seemed a little too much to me.
And their bodies just vanish. When he turns around, their bodies are no longer on the ground. A few shots later, they kind of vanish into the force or whatever. I think, though, they were trying to evoke that scene from Fellowship where he fights all the Uruks on Amon Hen.
Mm-hmm.
And they just run in a line one by one to get chopped down by him.
Yes.
Yeah,
I had problems with that fight scene as well.
Or it's like,
don't you dare, Pat! Don't you dare!
If it's like him and Boromir, and like if it's a bunch of people on a large number of people, I said this. I just 8 on 1. Come on!
It's like if you play Shadow of Mordor or one of the Batman Arkham games where one guy, there's a crowd of people, but the other guys kind of hang back while one or two guys will come up and fight you piecemeal. And then you beat the crud out of them and two more guys show up. And yeah, so it's like that.
But that's not how it really works. I mean,
Yeah.
See, and what was you've got canon ways to make that happen, though, because you could have had Aragorn like run into a glade where there was sun, right? And then the orcs are like only come at him one-on-one. Like and I think, budget of $5,000. You don't have a continuity editor. You don't have people calling that kind of stuff out. And but the fight they did, I thought it was pretty well choreographed. I thought they had a lot of fun little turnarounds and that stuff. And then the Nazgul thing, I think my problem with that fight is I wanted it to connect thematically to the fight at Weathertop. Like I wanted him to like actually use fire or something of that, to really drive the Nazgul away, or I don't know, to have him like figure that out at that point and be like, oh, hey, fireworks on these guys. Like, I'm going to keep that in the old noggin, and I'm going to use that later. So that sort of thing.
That was my problem. He picks up the torch, and then I'm like, oh, he's gonna set the Nazgul on fire, but the Nazgul just runs away as soon as he picks up the torch again, and then the fight's over. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
See, this Nazgul wasn't at Weathertop because he didn't learn that he didn't know about the fire that it.
Yeah.
It's one of the other ones.
And then I thought it was interesting that like perhaps we're supposed to infer that the Nazgul is driven away because it sensed those elves coming, because then immediately there's a bunch of elves and they're like backlit by a spotlight or something like that. And so I guess we were just supposed to infer. But yeah, as much as we're kind of like criticizing it, I really did like it. I thought it was good. Especially the Gollum stuff. I liked when he's in the bag and Aragorn is I guess trying to coax information out of him, and he's basically like, I'm not letting you out unless you talk. And he's like, I won't hurt you. I give you my word. And Gollum's just like, keep precious word, precious. So he's like, then you're staying in the sack.
We didn't talk about how he had to like get him into the sack in the first place. He had to set this trap with like cutting like, I guess, I don't know if it was fish bait or
fish guts.
Fish guts. Yeah, to like, because Gollum was up in a tree and Aragorn just had, I mean, it was almost kind of cartoonish.
It was comical,
lay this trap, because and I know in a bigger budget, like, and we could see that in a bigger, like in the big budget one with more of an elaborate thing, which will kind of be kind of interesting because it's like how is Aragorn going to corner Gollum and actually catch him? Probably not with just a sack. There's probably going to be more to it, but
it was a very clever way to keep Gollum out of sight, but still there for a big chunk of the movie. Yeah.
That was really
and you could tell that actor in the bag was having a ton of fun when he's like trying to crawl away and he's just writhing like,
Yeah.
That was great. Yeah. Did we miss anything? I mean, like I said, it's only a 40-minute film,
including the credits.
Including the credits. That's right.
I think its runtime is like 39 something. It doesn't even go over 40. But
I know what I wanted to talk about. The ranger who has the cameo part, Arathir, I think his name was. I was so weirded out by that because when he first shows up and Aragorn's like, how are you a Dunedain if I don't know your name? I'm like, spy. That dude's a spy. He's a spy of Sauron. But no, he just goes away and we never see him again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, that could have been a cool subplot, I thought, if that guy had been with Aragorn throughout the film. And then it's revealed later that he's like a spy of Sauron, because then it would kind of add some context to something Aragorn says in the book. When he's talking to Frodo and Bree, he tells Frodo, I had to make sure, too, that you were who you said you were, Frodo, because Sauron has laid traps for me before. And so it might have added some extra context to that.
Yeah, I guess I took that as Aragorn grew up in Rivendell, and so he probably wouldn't have known all the rest of the Dunedain who were kind of spread out and ranging and stuff. Because we saw in Born of Hope, if we take that as semi-canonical, they were, they had their own kind of little village there in wherever that was, but then they broke up because they wanted to, they felt Sauron's forces were moving and they needed to, kind of separate in order to combat them. And especially with Arathorn dying in that one, he was their chief. And so they had to, protect the heir and get Aragorn away. So I kind of took that as, he hasn't been raised among his own people. And this kind of seems like it was one of Aragorn's maybe like early missions, away from Rivendell, aside of course of without teaming up with Legolas and like we see in the Hobbit movies.
Yeah, I don't know, because Aragorn's supposed to be, isn't he like 80 years old or something like that by the time of the Lord of the Rings movies? And this isn't that long before that. We're talking 20, 30 years maybe. Maybe I have my math wrong on that.
I think at least it might even be less time in the movies, because they definitely condense things. Because in the movie, Frodo's in the Shire with the ring for years, before.
In the book, yeah, and then in the movie,
in the book rather,
it's like, no, you must go immediately. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to think, because you have Bilbo with it in the Shire until his 111th birthday. And he goes on adventure when he's like 50.
Yeah, 50.
So you're talking 61 years, and then Frodo doesn't leave home till he's roughly 50, if I remember correctly. He's about the same age as Bilbo.
Yep. He's 33 on the 111th birthday.
So it's 20 more years, so 80 years. So the ring's been in the Shire for like the entirety of Aragorn's life, basically. I never did that math. But yeah, I would have liked to have seen more of the range, like more than just him. I thought it would have been awesome if he had stuck with Aragorn and be like, oh, this is an important mission because there was a wizard involved, kind of a deal, or you're Aragorn, something. And it would have been good. I think they should have kept him the whole thing. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that could be something we see them expand on in the film, or in the upcoming film, because it's I don't think we did mention the release date. I think it's 2026. So
right, yeah,
probably 2 years. If not 2 years from now, 2 years. Probably it'll probably be a summer film. It would seem kind of silly not to be, because it's a big summer blockbuster. But yeah, they could definitely have other Rangers, or like I mentioned, Elrond's sons, and you could get the Grey Company on screen finally.
Ooh, yeah.
I am blanking on the Grey Company.
Oh, they are. It's Elrond's sons plus a ton of Dunedain. There's about 30 of them.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I think they. Do they? Are they at Helm's Deep in the book, or they come in after Helm's Deep?
They go to Helm's Deep, but it's after the battle. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I meant. The battle. So yeah, they kind of show up after Helm's Deep, and then they kind of follow Aragorn around through the rest of of Return of the King.
Okay, I'm remembering.
Yeah, his posse. Yeah, we never got to see that in the films. Yeah. But yeah, I was wondering too if like that guy has such a prominent like walk-on role that I was like, was he like a producer of this band?
That's the director.
It might have been, because I have the Wikipedia pulled up. Let me see.
Oh, okay.
But like in Born of Hope, the director played Aragorn's mom. But let me see.
Oh no, the director played the female, the other female ranger.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't say anything. Okay, maybe not. I thought I read something like that. It was just whoever the actor was, but Aaron Aldridge.
And basically that character's real purpose is to give Aragorn the information about the nameless terror in the dark.
Yep.
I like when Gollum steals the fish from the windowsill. That was also a nice moment.
Yeah, for the budget they had, I thought they did a really, really good job.
Yeah. But
for the budget they had, it's really easy to nitpick.
Oh, sure, yeah. Yeah, and it's just so hard to like do a project like that. Like, you don't have the resources of Hollywood. You just have, you get what equipment you can and you make a fan film. I always admire people who go out and, direct these kind of fan films. The 10-year-old in me who would take dad's VHS-C camcorder and make little movies in our backyard when I was a kid really admires people who go out and actually do it for real. But before we wrap up tonight, though, we have a ton of feedback to discuss because we record these episodes, a few weeks apart. And so we wait until we have a lot of feedback. We've got some interesting stuff tonight. There was a bit of talk on our channel on the StarQuest Discord server about Ungoliant that I thought we'd share. Dr. Aragorn says, I think I remember reading in the Lost Tales that the etymology of Ungoliant was something like gloom weaver. Instead, Ungoliant might be a sort of personification of darkness, gloom, or discord, and Tom Bombadil might be a personification of nature. And then Stefan Banach says, I think Ungoliant was one of the first discordant tones that Melkor weaved into the music. And that's definitely been a fan theory that I've heard, by the way, elsewhere, is that Ungoliant is the personification of the discord rather than being an embodied spirit like a Maya or something like that. What do you guys think of that?
Yeah, I think I said something similar to Dr. Aragorn about Ungoliant being the personification of darkness. I had said I think that she might have been like the Maiar of darkness, like, and not in a bad way, but just like you have light and you have darkness. I don't know if she could be a discordant tone, because I think it's pretty clear that Melkor doesn't have the power to create like Eru Ilúvatar does. So I don't know that that he could bring anything into being. Now, I guess it could be, or you could posit that he created the tone and through Eru's will brought the tone into a being of, as a Maiar or something. But yeah, that's interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way, because we never really see Melkor really create. He always twists or destroys or plays discordantly, however, we want to put it. But on the other hand, I could see it being something like that, because we have a very consistent theme in The Lord of the Rings or in Tolkien's works of evil overthrowing evil. Whereas sometimes you have good overthrowing evil, but a lot of times you have, evil basically trips itself off and good wins by default. And so I could see Eru taking a discordant theme and weaving it into, all right, I'll make it this, and then Melkor's going to team up with it, and then it's going to stab him in the back, because
I'll bring good out of it.
Right, Ungoliant almost undoes him if he hadn't have had the Balrogs at hand. And his amazing lungs and their ability to scream so loud that it echoes throughout all of time. So I could see that.
And then some more feedback about the unfinished tales, which were mentioned earlier, specifically the story of Aldarion and Arendis, which is one of the tales of Numenor. Yeah.
So
sad. Stefan Bonach says, I'm looking forward to some of the Second Age writings, specifically the tale of Aldarion and Arendis. Talk about tragic, he says. Yeah. That's one long train wreck of a marriage. Yeah.
Yeah. I very much feel like Tolkien is like writing about a couple friend of his or something that he knows. It's like their marriage is awful, and then I'm just gonna put this into my books. Something like that. I don't know. It just feels.
It feels very real.
Yes, but also very like terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, sometimes real life is like that.
Yeah. If we ever make it through the Silmarillion on this show, we will discuss some of the stuff from the unfinished tales, because there's some interesting material there. Yeah. And the sad thing, too, is that the tale of Aldarion and Arendis is in the unfinished tales because it's unfinished. You know, we don't really know. We know the end of it in broad strokes, but he never finished a complete draft of the story. And then we also have some feedback on our review of the Peter Jackson Return of the King film. On YouTube, the Unqualified Dreamer says, "Justice for Beregond. I was so hopeful that you were about to bring him up when you mentioned a character that was left out in the movie, but no, it was Imrahil. Imrahil is great and all, but Beregond was literally the one who saved Faramir in the book. But great podcast episode. I really enjoyed it." And yes, Unqualified Dreamer is absolutely right. We totally forgot to mention Beregond, a tragic oversight on our part. I really like Beregond in the book. I think he's a great character. And, you know, it's a shame he was one of the characters on the cutting room floor of the films. But I think they wanted to give Pippin more agency in being the one who saves Faramir, but it would have been interesting to see Beregond. And of course, Beregond is the father of the main character in another unfinished Tolkien work in The New Shadow. He's the father of Borlus, I think the character's name is. He has another son in the book, but in The New Shadow, it's like his younger son who wasn't born yet at the time of the War of the Ring. So his family was going to be important later in the timeline. So, because he ends up becoming the chief guard of Faramir, and he moves to Ithilien and stuff. And I think,
okay,
yeah, he's one of those everyman characters, Beregond, and I think that's why he's kind of a fan favorite for people who've read the books, you know. And I like when Aragorn pardons him. That's such a great scene because, you know, Aragorn tells him, okay, by your sword, blood was spilled in the Hallows, and the penalty for that is usually death. But I remit all penalty for your valor in battle, but you still have to be banished from the city. And Beregond's like, oh. And Aragorn's like, but you're banished because I'm promoting you to be the guard of Faramir, Prince of Ithilien. So it's like so many great little moments like that in the book.
Yeah. Maybe if they do remake Lord of the Rings, the films in in these upcoming round of films, maybe there'll be room for Beregond. And they decide to do something different. Because, I mean, yeah, we've talked to it. It's like, if they do remake them, they need to do something different, not just because there's already really good adaptation out there. So they don't need to just try to copy that and imitate that. So they could focus on some of these like smaller things like that.
Yeah, that's an episode we should consider doing, like favorite minor characters in the Lord of the Rings. Because there's a ton of walk-on parts and cameos in the books. And that might be a really interesting discussion. I will put that on the spreadsheet as something. Now that I'm thinking about it, that's a really cool idea.
Goes on the topic list.
Yeah. But that's it for this episode of The Secrets of Middle-earth. But before we go, we'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons who make this show possible, including Andrew M., Pat F., Dante V., Caroline K., and Jeremy N. Their generous donations help us to continue to create The Secrets of Middle-earth and all of our shows here at StarQuest. And you can join them at sqpn.com/give. Now we'd love to hear from you, our listeners. What did you think of all the news we discussed? Do you have feedback for us? Are you excited for the new Hollywood Hunt for Gollum movie? And have you seen the Hunt for Gollum fan film? And tell us what you think. You can let us know on our social media pages or by sending an email to middleearth@sqpn.com, by leaving us a comment on YouTube, or by visiting our channel on the StarQuest Discord community at sqpn.com/Discord. And join us next time for another adventure in the realms of Middle-earth. Thank you, Jeff Haecker, for joining me in sharing the secrets of Middle-earth.
Thanks, Thomas.
And Pat Mason, thank you as well.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
And I'm Thomas Salerno. Thank you for listening to The Secrets of Middle-earth on StarQuest.
Here's another podcast on the StarQuest network you're sure to enjoy: The Secrets of Movies and TV Shows. Find it wherever fine podcasts are found, or at sqpn.com/secrets.